Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Let's get the YouTube set up, and then we'll be off to the races.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Let's get the okay, so there's that. Okay, so hi, Bill Gross here from EXP Realty on our national probate real estate group. And today we're going to talk about the first, the overview class I do is 11 ways to get a probate sale for an agent. Last week we did an overview of all 11. And so now we're going to do week by week. We're going to go back 1 through 11 and talk about the different opportunities and different ways you can get business. And as just a reminder, as I said previously, I think that you want to attack a target from multiple angles, just like in the military. They have the land forces, and they have the missiles, and they have the Navy bombardment, and they have the Marines. I don't know anything about military, but that's what I see. The same with marketing. You want to try to hit the same prospect from different angles. And then that each one of those will supplement the other and synergize your activities. So rather than just calling probate petitions or just calling attorneys, using a second or third angle of attack will not only be effective in its own right, but make your other market activities more successful. We'll talk about that as we go through. Real quick, we have some questions. Neil, you have a question?
Yeah, I got 2 questions. And forgive me for asking this because I'm a real newbie, but I just started downloading my first probate cases from MTI Education or probatedata.com.
Nice.
So it has to do with, those are the 2 things. So I looked at the first lead and it had a deceased of a woman. When I went to RPR and looked at the property, it said its property is owned by, and it listed a husband and the wife on the property. Now, if you have a married couple and one party dies, does it go to probate even though you have a surviving spouse, or only if both spouses have passed?
Great question. So, and I will say that the principles are the same across the country, but real estate law varies from state to state. In California, there's numerous ways that husband and wife can hold title. A husband and wife can hold title as community property. Bill and Nancy as community property. We can hold it as joint tenants. And that way, like any other joint tenants, at least in California law, one passes, automatically goes to the other one. We can hold as tenants in common. Maybe one of us has a prior marriage, and so when we pass, our share goes to our estate. That would be probated. And then there's many cases where it's not specified in the way they hold title, husband, Bill and Nancy, but it doesn't say, and then it's up to the courts to determine. In California, by default, it would be community property transfer. Now, there are times when there's disputes over it, and in California law, there's a petition to claim that it's the spouse's right. It's an 850 petition. So there are cases where maybe the husband, his estate saying, oh, this property was supposed to be in a trust, and the wife's saying, no, afterwards we got married and he meant to take it out of the trust. He just forgot to do it, and this proves I have the rights, and there's a dispute over that. So to answer your question, that's why there's attorneys. It's not cut and dry, and for every rule there's some exceptions. Generally speaking, in California law, unless there's some other factor, generally speaking, one spouse dies, it becomes a property of the other, generally speaking.
I'm just thinking for living. Yeah, I was just thinking for marketing purposes, like when I contact the petitioner, it says the son. I'm assuming the husband probably passed away, because I have seen on property deeds that they still have both listed, even though one has passed away. But I don't know what percentage of people I'm going to contact with a probate where I see 2 names on the, and it's not really. Do you still try to contact? Or is there still value in working with them? Maybe the surviving spouse, the house is too big for them, and they're looking to downsize or this or that.
I would call and find out. I would always call, find out, and look for the petitioner. They should have the answers to the questions.
Because I wanted to send a packet a week before I called them, so they have some of the like the timelines and other things, so they at least have a picture of me on my letterhead. They know who I am, and it's a little bit more of a warm, like, hey, did you get the packet I sent you last week?
Okay.
And then have something in common to talk about.
That would address it to the petitioner.
Okay, very good. And then the second question has to do with KV Core. Have you ever downloaded any, like from MTI Education or probatedata.com? Is it compatible with KV Core? Have you ever done that?
So you download it to a spreadsheet, and then I've created with KV Core, there's a link where you can link a spreadsheet into KV Core. So then I copy paste into, I have a spreadsheet I call my mass import tool, which is a spreadsheet that anything in that goes into KV Core. So I download the data, copy paste, and then it goes into KV Core. And
you do a CSV file or that's CSV. Where it's on Excel, right?
And generally, I would only import into KV Core those leads I've contacted.
Okay, I got you.
Because if you're gonna get 500, you don't get to talk to 50 of them. It's just a waste of the space in KV Core. I'd only import in the ones I've talked to, and that would trigger certain activities.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good. Hey, Kristen, welcome to our call. Where are you from? Oh, she's on silent. Okay.
Sorry, I'm in the car. I'm in South Carolina.
Very nice. Well, thank you for joining us today. So today's topic, we want to talk about of the 11 ways to get a probate sale as a realtor. Number one is pre-probate. So this is an area of in particular value for those of us who are realtors, theoretically in this call as a real estate agent with EXP Realty. Particularly valuable as a way to work with investors and wholesalers. And some realtors like that, and some don't want to be bothered with it. I've done very well and a very nice career helping investors and wholesalers. So the strategies are you can approach pre-probate as an investor, i.e., I'm an investor, I like to make cash offer for property. Wholesaler, same thing, make an offer, assign it. Agents, I have investors that work with, I can help you or market the property. Or working as a team. And what I like is working as a team, taking that same data and sharing it with a investor wholesaler who's prospecting. I call that 2 bites of the apple. So I'm marketing to those people and they're marketing those people. And I'm obviously approaching it as a listing. More likely though, many times with sellers, I tell them I can get them a cash offer, particularly the EXP, the express offers as an option. So I'd rather give it to an investor I work with more regularly. Personally. So those are the different 4 ways you can approach it. As an investor, wholesaler, agent, those are 3 angles. And then number 4 would be as a team. You can work together. And I would strongly urge, if you're going to do this, you can go down this road, find one that fits those other categories. You're the agent. If you're not also an investor, wholesaler, find one or both that want to work with you that will prospect the same data with you. And maybe they're already doing it. Number 2, is the data. Now, what we get in probate data, and I have a link in I'll put in the link in the chat box if you want pre-probate data. Not only do I have a vendor that you can go to, but if you use a link I'm going to give you, you get a discount. It's actually the same company you're using, Neil. You're already with them, probatedata.com. And there's a promo code BG305. I don't get any revenue for it. You get a discount of 20 to 30% and a free ebook if you use it. And so you get that data, and what they do is they'll let you cross-reference the data. Also, if you want to other sources, depending on the metro area you're in. If there's not a lot of pre-probates, they might not do that. If you're in LA, I might try to cross-reference pre-probates with several other things. And they do cross-reference it, the decedent, with property that they own. So you're theoretically getting a list of mostly people who've died and have a property they own. And that's what we're going to. Now, that's, as you can imagine, might affect how you're going to market to them. We'll talk about that in just a second. When we approach these people, we want to come from being a service. I find it best not to come from, I know somebody died, I'm here to help, just I see this property is neglected, or I know this property has been off the market for a while, and I'm a real estate agent, I'm here to help. And when they open up and share with you somebody passed, you know you've made progress. So I would definitely come from being of service rather than being the, I wouldn't hang out at the mortuary chasing the hearse with my business cards and flyers on how I help pre-probate people sell their houses. I would do the opposite. I'd be of service to them. So I recommend when we've done these well, we've approached them 3 ways. We simultaneously door knock, phone call, and mail them. In general, I don't like to mail anything I haven't called already. That way I could put more mail on the leads I talk to and less mail on bad phone numbers and people that I'm not going to talk to. And so that's my general approach, is a call. And if they pick up or answer, then I know I can add them to my mail list. And then I would door knock either way. And once I've identified them as a lead and door knocking, make sure we mail them right away. I find that working both angles, door knocking, you don't go just to the property, but you door knock 5 houses on both sides. And while you're there, hey, I'm a real estate agent looking to see if I can help you sell your house. Do anybody's interested? No, I'm curious about the house down the street. I noticed that somebody passed. Do you know anything about it? It looks like it's been neglected. And oftentimes either that person will know the answer. Oh yeah, that's so-and-so, or his brother lives across the street, and they'll hook you up with good information about that property as well. So I would door knock it and door knock around it. The other thing that happens when you door knock is sometimes you miss the person at the house, but while you're door knocking around it, they pull up in their car. I've had that happen as well. So how do we approach these? Again, I would door knock, phone call, and mail. I would only mail those that I've talked to on the phone or door knocked in person to increase my effectiveness of my mailing and my costs. So what are the challenges of this approach to prospect? One challenge is the title can be unclear. They don't even know yet if they have to file for probate. I had a question we started with from Neil about, well, what if one spouse passes or not? Until somebody looks at the file in detail, there's no way really to know. Now, I always look at that challenge as my opportunity. I'm good at either helping them unravel the problem or finding people that they can use to unravel the problem. So I would definitely urge you to not back off because they're unclear with the title. That's the case you're looking for. Another challenge is it's hard to get people into action. People who filed for probate have already taken some steps. People who've not filed for probate haven't even done that yet. And so it is challenging. Just know that, you know, we're in real estate business. You know, we're okay with somebody calling us on the phone, filling out forms, sending them electronically, getting them back, putting them in the MLS, getting an offer, opening escrow, all in 2 days. Most people don't work at that pace. Speed in real estate is much faster paced than attorneys and then the general population. So just be prepared and be patient that people will act on their own time when they're ready, as they're ready. I'm not saying, therefore, not to do your job and follow up with them. I'm just saying be sensitive to that fact and know that it's challenging to get people into action. Next challenge, number 1 is unclear title. 2 is hard to get them in action. Number 3 is there's multiple people often. Sometimes there's multiple heirs. Sometimes there's other people who think they're heirs. Sometimes there is the crasher, the squatter, the family member who's been living there for free forever, or a tenant, or the caregiver who faked the will at the last minute. So there's multiple people involved, and rather than just talking to one decision maker, often we pursue an attorney or prospective attorneys. So just know that one of the challenges in pre-probate is you're gonna deal with multiple people. But again, if you're good at communication and you're patient and you talk to a lot of them, you'll find the good ones. And then the last challenge is it sounds complicated. Sounds complicated. Somebody died, title's unclear, there's somebody who's living there, the house is a mess, there's a bunch of cars parked in front, maybe it's a bad neighborhood. Well, yeah, but if you solve those problems, you get paid. Or if you figure out how to get the problem solved, you get paid. Okay, so what are the solutions? So number one solution is get multiple people to help you solve the problem. Meaning you don't have to do everything. I have to solve the problem of multiple things, but I have to do it personally. So for example, I don't have to go to the house. I can get an agent who's younger and more full of, vigor than I am to go to the house. I don't talk to the tenant. Somebody has to. Maybe an attorney, maybe another agent. I don't have to clean out the house. I hire a company that does that. I don't have to handle the estate sale. I have a company that does that. So get multiple people to help you on this transaction. You don't have to do it all yourself. And then there's multiple solutions. You need to think of yourself as a realtor as having a toolbox with multiple tools. Typical realtor toolboxes include handyman, right? We as realtors all the time get asked about plumbers, painters, those kinds of people. Working with probate and pre-probate, I get asked about money. So you can lend money, investors. I get asked about legal. Now, legal can include a number of different groups. Legal can be attorneys, it can be paralegals, or it can be a service. Oftentimes, you'll talk to people say, gee, I want to file probate, I don't know what to do. Well, let's talk about that. What's the best solution? Just like, no, I'm not a handyman, to be honest. I have a little toolbox. There's multiple size screwdrivers from big to small. So even though they all look like Phillips screwdrivers, there's the big one, the medium, the small one. So think of the attorney as the big screwdriver, maybe a paralegal as a medium, and maybe an online service as the small screwdriver, which is the right one for this case. Sometimes the customers filled out paperwork and struggled with it, and I can refer them to the online service and get them going. Sometimes you need a paralegal who's more personally involved, but not just any paralegal. You need to find one in your area or that services your area that knows probate in your state really well. And then last is attorney. And I frankly have wasted more energy and time referring cases to attorneys in that I don't get much back. And my customers aren't that happy with referrals, even when I know it's the right attorney. We can go talk about hours about that, but I'll just share with you that don't think magically because you refer a case to an attorney, they're going to love you and refer you business forever. And they may. I'm open to the possibility, but that's not my experience at all. My experience is, for the most part, it's just a dead end. I refer the business and never hear back again. So sometimes they need legal help. They might need administrative help, filling out paperwork, collecting all the papers, organizing the papers. So somebody can help with that. Emotional support. Most people, when they've lost somebody, need emotional support. Also, just taking on the job. All the extra work of handling this property and estate can be overwhelming to people. Pets, caring of the house, having heirs that they don't want to disappoint can be overwhelming to people, can almost cripple them time-wise. So your job is to have different solutions and have different people who can help you. And there's professionals, there's professional declutterers, right? One of the questions I got asked is, do I have a written list of various resources of other people we can have on our team? So I've just named you a couple different areas. You need to create your own list in your market area. I mean, I have a great estate sale person here in Los Angeles. My goal of this group is that we should create, all of us, our own list. And that way, if ever I have a referral, I can call on you and present that we have a team of people that have those lists put together. So I would say, Neil, strongly, you need to make a list of all the vendors you need for your team and start filling them in as you talk to people. And you'll find that as you talk to people, you ask the question quite naturally, hey, on this listing, I'm using a trash out company, but I occasionally get probates a little more involved. Do you do them? Tell me about your pricing. Or paralegals as well. You meet an attorney or paralegal, ask them, do they do probate? How comfortable are they with them? What's their pricing structure? And then add them to your list or not as appropriate. So you want to build your list. That's really one of the most important tools is your list of vendors, your toolbox that's in your area that's going to support your people. My people aren't going to be of much value to you. Now, we'll say that I do use a service that's national, easy-probate.com, easy-probate.com, and they do a great job to help customers file probate forms in almost every state. And then they have a concierge level with a little more support. And they even have an attorney level where you can hire an attorney to work for you under their system. It's kind of like LegalZoom, but just focused on probate. Okay, so that's the outline of the pre-probate program. I gave you the strategies, approaching them as an investor, wholesaler, and or agent, and making sure that either you fill all three roles or find one or two partners to fill out those three jobs with you. The data, I get probate data is the source I use, and I include a link here for their data with a, I don't have the link there. Let me put the link in as well. Okay. That's not right. Is it? I'm sorry, Foreclosures Daily is the service. And I gave you the link to the coupon code that you'll get, I think, 20 or 30% off for pre-probate data. I think the only ones, they do have it nationally. So I gave you that the data source, come from being a service, you approach them via door, phone, and mail. Again, I recommend only mail after contacting via door and or phone. The challenges we talked about were tellers unclear, hard to get them into action sometimes. You have multiple parties, and it sounds complicated, but don't get deterred. And I gave you some solutions. Get multiple people on your team, and then find solutions in the areas of money. Money can include advancing the money for trash out, advancing the money. Estate sales are problematic here in LA during COVID. So I don't know what you do, donating stuff. There are organizations that still will pick up donations even with COVID. So you have to know who they are. But the most common thing that I get involved with is cleanup, a trash out company, and then cleaning up the property like a maid service. And then you want to have a 3-level attack for legal services: attorney, paralegal, and service. And the service I use is easyprobate.com. And then helping people just in general with administrative support and or emotional support. Okay, so that's what I prepared on how to attack pre-probates. And now you can imagine that you did this. Imagine that you got in your area all the Foreclosure Daily pre-probates, and you call them and or your partner door knock them, again, as appropriate with COVID, and or mail them, and then generate some leads of people who decedent, have property, not sure what to do, get in conversation with you. And imagine they've already just filed a probate. But if you're also marketing probates, you're going to find their file listed as well. So now you're kind of attacking them from both angles. They're going to get another letter in the mail from you saying, I see you filed probate, and I'm here as a resource to help you with probates. So now you've attacked that same lead from 2 different angles. Can you see the power of that? Can you imagine that if you meet them as a pre-probate and they already have their attorney in mind, which is okay sometimes, how nice it'll be to be able to, and I had that this morning, where we found a lead pre-probate. He's already decided to file probate. Turns out I know the attorney. I call the attorney, we have an interview with him, and now we go back to the seller to talk to him as well. So you can see how those two work together. You have one business called pre-probate, one called probate. The probate one makes your pre-probate stronger. The pre-probate makes your probate stronger. 1 + 1 becomes 3. So I urge everybody in the probate space to find more than one plan of attack so you can hit the same data from 2 or more angles to be more productive. Okay, that's what I prepared on the topic. Questions? By the way, all this is recorded, and I will post it in the probate group link in Workplace under a private link. But questions? No? My presentation, was that clear? Really? Okay. Any other questions on probate real estate I can help you guys with today? No? Okay.
I guess I'll just.
Well, look, I appreciate the chance to do this. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you said some resources would be the paralegal, the attorney, And I didn't write everything down either. I'd have to listen to the presentation again. Could you just repeat this list of possible resources to at least initiate?
Money. Now, if I'm going to list the property, I'll just put on my own credit card. I have a credit card just for this purpose, for advancing money to estates. So if I list the property, I've had investors advance clients money for fixing up a house, cleaning out a house, or just giving money for legal fees. And there's different ways. I actually own a company, a partnership with a company that advances heirs money. So if you meet somebody and they don't have probate filed yet, but they're going to go to a attorney service that we're going to approve, I can advance some money from their estate. And so I can advance them enough money. I've done it many times for the legal fees. They want to use a certain attorney. That attorney wants a deposit of $5,000 or so. And so we'll advance them $5,000 against their inheritance to pay for legal fees. I've had cases where we've advanced money, $5,000 plus they want money for the mortgage because there's a mortgage behind dues, property taxes, fixing house up and getting it ready for sale. We'll advance them $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. So money is another one. Either you want to do that or you find somebody who can. And again, if you find a case where there's an inheritance, I'd be more than glad to talk to you about advancing money because you can't get a loan. If you're an heir, you can't go to a bank. That's a different experience. So money.
Through MTI Education, they have a company that will do that. I know the cost of money varies, but this company charges between, and they didn't give an exact fee, but between 25 and 50%.
Yes.
Is that typical?
It is. Here's the problem. I've used their service and I've used other companies. I think what I would say is that when you use them, it's like you're playing with one bank as a mortgage company, that there are days that Bank of America is good and days Bank of America is bad. MTI's lender is good and bad. And part of why they work with MTI, in my experience, is they're not looking to hustle to get your business. They want to make one sale to MTI and have all the business just come in easy online. And my experience is many times these people need a little more hand-holding and a little more communication and a lot more phone calls. And so just like I don't do loans anymore on my real estate deals because that's not productive. But just like some realtors do loans, not even make money, but just because they're sick and tired of lenders screwing up their sales. I got tired of the Advanced Heritage Company declining my customers because they didn't do their job or not telling me. The customer turned the paperwork. Why didn't you tell me a week ago? Because when people are hot for money, they'll move and then they kind of cool off. And so I found that every company you deal with has one inheritance company, but what they don't have is like a mortgage broker. I could place it with 5 different companies. That's what I created. So you're welcome to use MTIs if it works. If you find they decline it, or you want somebody who's going to really work with you on these, I'd be more than glad to help you with that. And my company will get you the same kind of rates, but you also get me chasing down the customer, talking to the customer.
Question, because they give us a commission for that money as well. Does that work with you as well?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm taking that commission. Now, here's the thing with that. Again, that works as long as they approve the deal. Once they don't, you're kind of screwed. Because your customer's a little pissed. You didn't come through on something. And my experience is 100% commission of nothing is nothing. So that's why I actually went to the trouble of doing this. Was I just found there was no one company. They all have their likes and dislikes. MTI is based here in California. They don't do much business in Florida. There's some national companies that have the regions they do better business in. So I would say to you, just be careful. Some of these vendors, everybody wants and this is true about real estate overall. Everybody wants the easy deals. Everybody wants to take the cream of the crop, 20% easy. You fill out the form, it comes in, they come back, they just email your client the contract, he signs it, they wire his money. They all want those deals. What they don't want is the one that requires you to find the notary that's going to go to the client's house and handle the FedEx paperwork, and that you actually are calling the customer to set the appointment. That's what we get paid as salespeople to do. So that's what I do. That's what my company does on the inheritance. But you're welcome to use them if it works. Great. If they decline you, my experience was they turned down 2 out of 3.
Really?
And I
Wow.
they went to another company and they turned down 2 out of 3. I just realized why? Because these companies are all set up to skim the cream of the crop and the easy ones, and they have some clerk they're paying $20 an hour to make those decisions. Not me. I'm going to make $23,000 on the listing. I have a little bigger incentive than they do on that one transaction.
So the way it works is you'll forward them the money to fix up the house, and then you take that money back out at the closing.
Right. There's actually a lien on their estate in the escrow, in the probate, that gets paid off through the probate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And the key there, then you work with the attorney, and there's a lot of advantages to working that way.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, that's how I do it. But you could do it whatever works for you. Just be careful. Those services, it's just difficult when your client gets turned down. It just changes your relationship with them. It's no different than having a mortgage lender just call you on a Friday. Sorry, we can't do your loan. And you're all, what the hell? Well, yeah, he didn't hear his paperwork in time, so we had to cancel his file. What? Like, mortgage lenders that you pick don't work that way. But when you walk into B of A, that's how they treat you, kind of thing. Good question. Other questions? No? Okay, I'm gonna end the recording. Okay, so we're gonna put the I'll put this YouTube in link in our probate group at Workplace. Feel free to jump in there and listen to it. Thank you for being on the call today. Particularly Neil, thank you for participating. Each week now, we have 11 ways to go, 11 ways total. We're going to go through each of the remaining 10 ways once a week. My goal is to end up with a class of all 11 and package it all together. And you guys are free participate in that. If you have any suggestions on what you think I need to work on, let me know. Okay. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions. Neil, anything else I can help you with before we run?
I'll just contact you on Workplace.
Fantastic.
Yep, that's cool. Appreciate it.
Great. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much.